Long time no see. Well, maybe not for you, but for me. I wanted to explain why I haven't been posting because I feel like I owe you an explanation. Like I think a lot of people do, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be a certain person and you want to act a certain way. And I find myself waking up every single day going through the process of sanctification, which, if you don't know what that means, it just means the process of being made more like Christ. And it's a really hard journey to be on. It's so hard. Why is it so hard? The truth is, this world gets to me a lot. Wow, who would have thought? The pressure of money and looking good and feeling good and just the pressure of and cooking. I mean, look at my ribs. Bad. I haven't really been eating. Like, it's just the pressure of everything has been getting to me, right? And so, when the pressure of everything would be getting to me, the one thing that would help me, ground me, and be my outlet was God. And it was being in the Word. It was the most grounding thing for me because when all of this stuff was going on and I'm like, and I'd just spend a minute or two and just read some of the Word, and some of it's like, wait, what are you talking about? Then you finally read something that kind of hits your heart, your soul. You're like, wow, I needed to hear that. And you can kind of breathe for a second. You know what I'm talking about? And then you spend the rest of your day thinking about that little verse that you read. You're like, yeah. And it helps, right? And with my podcast, I don't know if you know, I spend like 40 hours a week on my podcast, coming out with 5 podcasts a week, coming up with them, recording them, editing them, thumbnails for them, summaries for them. I spend way too much time thinking about, is this good enough? Is this what people want to hear? Okay, how do I even title this? I'll spend 30 minutes on a title sometimes because I'm just like, how do I encompass everything I just talked about in a couple of words? It's too hard for me. I don't know how these people do it. I don't know. And so what I'm trying to say is, the thing that would ground me and be my outlet became my job. The thing that was helping me get through my life started to become work for me. Because every time I'd open up my Bible and I'd read my Word and I'd get something good out of it, I'd be like, oh my goodness, I need to make a podcast on this. I need to make this really good, you know? And then the pressure of it, and then, oh, how do I explain this, or how do I make this hit home like good sermons, do, and I got burnt out. I got burnt out of spending time with God. Not good. Because I was making it like my job. I was spending 40 hours of the week just thinking about it and trying to help other people with it. And so what started to happen? Well, I needed an outlet, of course. Because after spending 40 hours of the week making your outlet your work, well, you need a new outlet, right? No, you really don't. But my brain started telling me, man, you worked really hard today. Time to reward yourself. Remember that outlet you used to have? Remember that old thing you used to do? Doesn't that sound like fun again? And I'm like, no. I know how far I've come from that. I know what you're trying to do. I'm not falling for that. But after days and weeks of temptation and thoughts coming in my head, telling me to do it, telling me to go back to my old ways, and being almost drained from going to God all the time, I did. I succumbed. Because the second I did, that became my outlet. It was no longer God. God was on my mind. Don't get me wrong, it's not like I forgot about him. But I started living my life a little bit without him as much. I started not reading my word as much. And if I'm not reading my word as much, I'm not coming up with podcast ideas, am I? No, because I'm struggling. And if you're too busy struggling yourself in your own walk with God, and my entire podcast I created in a way to help other people on their walks with God and encourage people to keep going on their walk with God. And I thought to myself, well, how can I turn on my camera and sit there and help other people on their walk with God when they probably have a better one than I do right now with him? Does that make sense? And so I just felt like, if there's one thing in this world I'm not gonna be, it's a hypocrite. Or a liar. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna come on here and act like, oh, here's what you want to do if you want to get close to God. Because I wasn't. I was so far from him, living in sin again. It's basically what I did. The second I got a little taste of it again, and I remember what it used to feel like, I was hooked again. Before I know it, a week later, I was back to where I used to be. And this is extremely vulnerable, okay, for you to be hearing this right now. Like, I just want you to know that, okay? I'm also like barefaced, no makeup, haven't even done my skincare routine. I got my yellow ass teeth. Sorry. I didn't mean to cuss. See, I am not perfect. I'm not perfect, and I am nowhere near perfect. And I think it started to get to me, because if I am going to represent God, and I'm gonna have the courage to go on the internet and represent God, I don't want to be representing him in a bad way. Do you know what I'm saying? Because the God that I follow, he doesn't cuss. He doesn't sin. He's perfect. He never messes up. I'm trying to be more like him. That's why I love him so much. That's why I follow him. Because I know that he's right. Deep down in the core of it all, everything I go through, every struggle, he's always right about everything. Like, he's never like, I told you so. He's never one of those. He's never like, he'll never make me feel bad either. He'll never be like, I can't believe you. How dare you go back to doing this again? If anything, he's there for you. If anything, he's like, this isn't you. Why are you doing this? Why are you acting this way? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just trying to survive the best way I know how. And he's like, darling, this is not the way. And you know it. And you know it. And I'm like, I know. So after about a month of running from him, I came back. I was never gone. Like, it's not like, oh, I was gonna leave the faith and go. No, like, no. I know God is real, and I will always try my best to follow him. I think what I'm trying to say is, when the pressures of life start to creep up on you, it's really easy to turn to sin. And once I finally told some believers in my life right now, they're like, oh my gosh, that's horrible, that's horrible. We're here for you, girl. We got you. We love you. Only thing is, you cannot let the church know that you're doing this right now. Okay, so I have to lie and hide what's going on in my life so that other people don't judge me and think that I'm less or more or whatever. Honestly, the only thing I'm worried about judging me is him upstairs. Now, when I say the only person I care about judging me is the only one upstairs, what I mean by that is if I truly have a brother and sister of Christ come to me and say, Serena, you have to stop doing this. This is not good for you. And I'd go, you know what? Heard. Noted. Because I know that my brothers and sisters in Christ, they want what's best for me. But if my brother and sister in Christ is telling me, you need to lie, you need to hide that, because you need to appear a certain way, that's horrible. And I stopped going to the church. And I realized something. All those people there, they seem perfect. They look like they live these perfect lives. It's probably because they all have this understanding deep down. Well, they can't know about all this baggage I've got. They can't know about all this. Because then they're going to judge me, and I'm not going to be Christ enough, and yeah. What? Why did Jesus die for us, you guys? So we could lie and hide about our true selves in front of all the other people that Jesus died for too? That doesn't make any sense to me. No sense. We are all sick. That's why we need him, the doctor, right? He's the doctor. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is I started to have the exact same mentality with my podcast. I'm promoting God. I am a servant of him. I'm spreading his word. I don't want to be a hypocrite. I don't want to be a liar. I want to be a good representation of him. I'm not going to come on here and live a double life. Half sin, half world, half God. No, I'm tired of it. Hide what you really do and act presentable in front of the camera. Act presentable in front of the church. No. Show me your true colors. Show me everything that God sees. Don't hide it. Give it to him. Give it to the world. You should read the book, Awe of God by John Bevere. So good. He talks about the projected image, the real image, and the actual image. Basically, who you actually are, like everything that God sees about you, who you think you are, and then how other people perceive you. It's all different. And in his book, one of the things he talks about is not having three anymore, having just one that you present to the world, that you present to God, that you present to everyone. And so if I'm going to preach his word, and I'm going to be a teacher, and I'm going to help clarify it, then I'm going to do it right. So that's my goal with this podcast, and that's why honestly I will truly never ever stop posting. Even if you see me not post for a month, even if you might see me not post for 3 months, I will always come back because I will always come back to God. I will always want to make disciples of all nations. I will always want to share what I've learned and what he has done for me. I will never try to hide all the vulgar and crazy stuff that's happened in my life because it could help somebody else. It could help somebody else who also has like a similar life. It feels like they need to hide it from other people. Or I will always try to share how God has come through for me in my imperfect life. And if he can do it for me, I know he can do it for you. So I just want you to know at the end of all of this, I don't care how far deep in you feel in whatever it is you're in. I don't care how far gone you feel. I don't care if your entire life is built up around something that you know shouldn't be there. God can get you out everything. So if you're sitting there like, man, I've been in the same spot for years and I just tried so hard to get out of it, just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. Just keep praying. Just keep reading. He will get you out, I promise. And then you'll have joy again and peace again. I'm so serious. Actually listening to him and putting down my pride and putting down what I think is right or what I think is going to relieve me temporarily and listening to what he thinks is best. It always is best. Even if it's not what I want to do in the moment. Even if it's like really. So yeah, I hope this helps explain that the process of sanctification is never ending. We could always strive every day to look a little bit more like him. And when we do, our soul feels more joyous, more at peace. It's the craziest thing. The second we stop living for ourselves, and we start living for him, like putting that cross on our shoulder again, we actually feel better. It's like, wow, only him. So I hope this helped in some sort of way. And I love you so, so, so much. I don't think you really know. Like, over this past month, those of you that have commented, like, that my videos have helped you and that you want me to come back, I read it. I see it. It really speaks to my heart because I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for you. So, thank you. Much love, and I cannot wait to talk to you in the regular setup next time. I love you and I missed you. And just know that he's got us in the palm of his hand, always. Hope you have an amazing rest of your day. I'll talk to you again next time. It's officially February, and I'm really, really sick right now. But I figured I've kept you waiting long enough. I recorded this video back in late November or early December. I had a very busy holiday season. But if you didn't know already, the sin I was referring to was weed use, marijuana use. I started using for the first time in 2019, and I spent years trying to quit. I found out God was real in 2020. That's my cat. And my whole life changed. I don't think I've really ever talked about my testimony in any of my podcasts. But there was a day in 2020. I was in my senior year of high school. I had graduation coming up. I had my last semester of high school. And I started smoking weed my senior year. I remember going on spring break. And then I got the memo that we weren't coming back to school. I'm like, okay, maybe a week from now. Maybe a month from now. Then we got the memo that we weren't going back to school. And it was COVID time period. And we were under lockdown and we couldn't leave the house, and my use started kicking up, basically. And there was this one day I remember trying to get an online assignment done by midnight. It was due at midnight, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't read the article that I needed to read. I was like a straight A student, so I had to write this little short essay. It was AP government and AP comparative politics, and I couldn't read the essay, read the article to write the essay.
And it was like 10 p.m. And I remember on this very day, I had not smoked all day long because I was trying to get my schoolwork done. I spent the whole day on schoolwork, and it's 10 p.m., and all I had to do was read this article, write my short essay, and submit it by midnight. And I just remember I was going through so much that I just kept reading the paragraph over and over and over and not retaining any of it. My mind was going a mile a minute, and I couldn't stop it. I remember in that instance calling on God, which is not something I did very often, if ever. But I called on God and my plan was to, like, I don't know, ask God if he could help me silence my thoughts, help me read the article. And the second I thought the word God in my head, my mind cleared. All the thoughts turned silent. And I was actually taken aback, in awe. I was like, oh, he really just heard me think God. That's the only thought I was like, okay, God. And I was going to proceed to say what I was going to say, like my little request. And all I had gotten out in my mind was God. And all my thoughts quieted immediately. And that's the only way I can describe it. But I remember going, oh, he heard me. He hears your thoughts. It was very surreal. I remember being like, all right, I'm going to get back to this, okay? And I remember reading my article, writing my essay, and praying. I remember in that prayer asking so many things, talking about so many different things. I'm like, well, I know you hear me, so answer me. At that time, my dream school was USF. The school I wanted to go to was USF. But I hadn't heard back from them if I had been accepted. And I was so scared. I had heard back from other schools that I had been accepted, but I had not heard back from my dream school yet. I remember that night, I ended up praying for 8 hours straight until the sun came up. I did not smoke or anything like that. I was so enthralled that the Creator actually took the time to answer me. And I remember within that prayer, he told me a few things. But one of the things he told me was, I want you to buy a Bible and I want you to read it. I'm like, the Bible? Ooh, the Bible? Yes, the Bible. Okay. So I bought a Bible and literally the very next day, and I started reading it. It took me a while to officially start getting into it, and then a while after that to finally start understanding it. Now I couldn't live without it. And the other thing he told me was, I don't want you to go to USF. I want you to go to UCF, University of Central Florida. I was also debating community college for 2 years. But it was very clear that he was very clear about going to UCF. I'm like, UCF? What? In the back of my mind. But in the forefront, it was like, whatever you want to do. Like, I can't believe you're even talking to me right now. This is honestly surreal. And I remember the way I left that prayer. I remember him telling me, put in your $200 for UCF today and buy a Bible today. It wasn't long after that my mom had woken up. It was the morning. I remember going to her and being like, you won't even believe just what happened to me. I'm going to go to UCF and I'm going to read a Bible and God is real and all that. She was like, girl, I need my morning coffee. Back off. And I'm like, are you hearing me? This is crazy. He's real. He's there for us. He hears us. He wants to guide us and he wants us for us to follow his plan. And she was like, all right, you know what? I used to believe in all that when I was your age. And I'm like, Ma, come on. Am I one to lie? Like, am I one to make this stuff up? Like, come on, you know me. She's like, yeah, honey. And I remember following her outside on the front porch so she could have her morning cigarette. And I remember sitting there trying to tell her, like, a bit of the stuff that had happened to me. And I remember her being more concerned about how I got no sleep that night. And I'm like, Mom, I'm wide awake. Like, I'm sorry. You don't just speak to the creator and then just like, oh, like that just like isn't what happened. And I remember sitting there talking to her and telling her, I'm going to UCF. She's like, I thought maybe we were going to do community college. You could stay home with me for another 2 years. I would love that. You know, she was, I'm an only child, so she was like, I don't want you to go. And I'm like, I gotta go. She's like, no. But yes. But I wanted to go to USF, like I said. And I remember sitting there. And I remember watching the mailman pull up, put her mail in the mailbox, and drive away. So I remember walking down and that morning and grabbing the mail out of the mailbox. And it was my acceptance to USF sitting in the mailbox. I don't know if you know, but they actually denied me at first. And it was the most heartbreaking thing I had ever gone through, getting denied by your dream school. I remember going in the next day and my guidance counselor for my high school was like, so what happened? Did you get in? Have you heard anything? And I'm like, they denied me. And I remember my guidance counselor was like, what? But your scores, but your grades, but your essay, it was all so good. And I'm like, I don't know. They don't want me. And I remember my guidance counselor was so sweet and so nice to me. She was like, hold on. I'm good friends with the head of admissions there. Let me talk to her. So she talks to her, gets back to me the next week, says, apply a second time. So I was waiting to hear back if I would be accepted or not for the second time. And I remember looking at this acceptance like this. I'm going to UCF. Eventually, a couple weeks later, I ended up hanging out with my friends and smoking again with them and falling back into it. And a couple months later, I tried to quit and I wouldn't be able to. And this just went on for years. And then it got even worse with college, because in college, everyone's partying and doing stuff and living, FOMO and YOLO and living their life. And I was living in college with like 1 foot in the world and 1 foot in the Word. And I tried for years to quit on my own. And I couldn't. Now I know the only way to truly quit and live sin free is with the Holy Spirit. I'll officially be 3 months clean in 5 days. Usually around the 3-month time period I would fall back in, but something feels different this time. Quitting the last time took everything I had. It is so hard to quit. Maybe not for everybody, but at least for me. And I had my eyes fixated on God so hard every minute of every day, and it was the only way I got through. I remember trying to get through those first couple of days. I wasn't even paying attention to how many days it had been. I was just focused on Him instead of it. It wasn't until about a month later that I realized the first day I ever smoked was November 19th, 2019. And the last day I smoked was November 19th, 2025. It had been exactly 6 years. Now don't get me wrong, there was months that I would go without it, a couple months at a time and whatnot, but for the most part, 6 years on it, trying to get off of it. And I truly believe, how is that possible? On the day, on the dot. If that's not God's timing, I don't know what is. Sometimes His timing isn't our timing. I would have loved to have gone off of it 5 years ago, but I just couldn't. Now, I'm not in any way saying that He kept me on it for 5 years, but I am saying I think His hand, His thoughts, His voice spoke to me the day it needed to speak to me, started putting it in my heart the day He wanted to start putting it in my heart. I don't think I was on my timing at all. I think I've been on His timing. So I don't know where you are at in your life or what it is that you are going through, but I promise you're on His timing. He's going to keep you at where you're at. He's going to keep you at where you're going through until He thinks you're ready. And if my testimony has helped you at all, please let me know. It's not easy being vulnerable on a camera with a microphone for anyone to see. But that is my story. And I don't do any of this for pity, for judgment, for clout. I do all of this for the glory of God. I say all of this in hopes that you trust me. Trust what I have to say. Trust my testimony. Trust my stories. But 6 years on the dot, without me even knowing it or thinking about it, is pretty remarkable. And I would be a fool going back to my own vomit, as the Bible would say, if I was to ever choose to do it again or go back to it again. And I don't want to be a fool. So although sin is tempting, and although it's not easy being sober-minded when you're so used to the alternative, my friend Brittany put it the best. It's not an uncommon quote, but it was uncommon to me when I had heard her say it. Salvation is free. Salvation is a gift. But discipleship is hard. Dying to self is hard. And picking up your cross every day and walking with it on your back is hard. But I can do all things through Christ who lives in me. Philippians 4:13. I can't wait to start posting again for real. And I have made my voice very, very angry for speaking this much on a sore throat. I love you so much. And whatever you're going through, you can do it too. Much love, and as always, I cannot wait to talk to you again next time.